Well, it's the next day after we got this thing running. Yeah, I'm still kind of sick, but and I came out and we had a leak here at this fitting, and we had a leak at the fitting on the other side. The other side I was able to tighten up. It was really not tight at all. This side, it's, as you can see, it's cinched down as tight as it can go, but it was leaking. So I was able to locate the seals that go inside there. So I picked up enough for the both tubes, and I'm gonna go ahead and change them out, and hopefully that'll take care of that coolant leak. We don't have to do anything else with this pipe. But I'm draining the coolant down now. While the coolant's draining down, I'm gonna go ahead and get my serpentine belt changed out. My serpentine belt tensioner pulley. It came the other day, so I wanted to get it painted up, primed and painted. So now that that's done, we're gonna go ahead and get that on, and I'm gonna top off the fluids, and then we got to start working on some other stuff here. Okay, got the bolt out of there. I'm gonna go ahead and take it to the wire wheel, clean it up, and then put some never sees on it. All right, so I got this one out whole. They're so brittle and hard, that's why they don't seal well. This one I had to dig out with a pick, and it's very important that the bottom of that is really clean, because it pushes against this and you're basically squeezing this, and it's going to compress on this and seal in the fitting. There's a little bit of a flare there. Just got to be a little careful not to cut the new seal. I think Cummins calls these a grommet. I call them a seal, I guess, but yeah. So now we're gonna put her back in. Well, we got that in. I went ahead and took the other one off, and I replaced those as well. So hopefully they're not any problem. I don't like this, but this really needed to be up just a little bit. So I got a longer bolt, and I stuck a nut between the two as a spacer. Not really crazy about it, but it's got everything sitting just nice, and you know, the reliability and no leaks is far more important to me than that little nut. So now we're going to refill the coolant and hopefully run it for a while. I wish I had it turned around. I can get the exhaust outside, but I don't. It's just the way it's going to be. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty on the Peterbilt here. We're getting ready to put the front hubs on. We've been working through a few little small details, small leaks and stuff like that, as you guys have seen in previous videos. But now what we need to do is run the coolant in and get it up to full operating temperature. But now it's so cold out that I can't really open the doors, because the exhaust fumes fill this place up. So we're going to get it ready to go, get everything else done, and we're going to roll it outside, let it idle and run, test drive it and all that, and run the coolant in. If you don't know what run the coolant in means, what that means to me is you run it until it gets up to operating temperature, the thermostat opens. So until the thermostat opens, you're not circulating water all through the entire engine, the oil cooler and everything, and back to the radiator. It's just sitting there. So when that thermostat opens, any air that's trapped in this block, cooler, air compressor, anything that coolant travels in, once the thermostat opens, it allows the ability to get coolant in them places. It doesn't get all the air out. You still sometimes have to bleed it. There is a bleeder on this, but a lot of times on these older ones, we can run it up to operating temperature, let it cool down, take the cap off, top it off wherever it needs to be, and you can get them out that way. It's not really all that sophisticated. But today we're using the Rev HD seals. I like these really well because they're a two-piece seal and they're pretty forgiving. And the spindles on this are not in great shape. These are about the same money as as a traditional Chicago Rawhide or one of the other brands of seals, and they're really easy. You don't need a special tool to install. So much that I'm going to tell you, you can install them with a dead blow hammer. Sometimes you can push them in. This one's a little bit tight, and it even tells you in the instructions, you know, you can use a hammer to do this. hear the tone change. So what this basically does is it makes the outer part a fixed unit and then this inner part a fixed unit, and then it creates a new sealing surface inside. Because so this this makes a new, it's a permanent mount inside the hub here, and then this part is permanently fixed there, so it really doesn't move, and you create a brand new sealing surface. And the two move independently of each other, but don't rely on that spindle or this hub to seal as much. But in order to do that, they use this whatever it is, like a silicone grease type thing, and I assume what it does is swells up and makes it easy to take up any damage or voids in either spot. I think it reacts with the material the seal's made of. All right, we're gonna lift it on there. Okay, this goes on up against the bearing first. You see how it's got that little locator knob right there. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to torque this down to seat the seal. So as you can see, there's not enough room here. It's pretty simple to see. This lock plate's going to go in here in another nut. So obviously we are not seated. You see the distance back here. The seal is not seated where it needs to be. We need to close that up to about right there. All right, so we've run in the jam nut, what actually sets the bearing preload. And the procedure we use is we run it into 200, and that way we make sure that we're seating the seal all the way back and the bearings. And as we're torquing that, we're turning this at the same time. Once we reach that, after that, we back it off one full turn, spin it again, and then I torque it to 50 while I'm spinning. Then I'll spin it after it's torqued. After I'm happy with that, I back it off a half a turn, or half a turn, and whatever it takes to get lined up. So this, you'll find that the holes are offset on this. So this, you may have it set like this where the hole won't line up, but if you flip it over, it may, because the holes are not set on this flat exactly. They're off a few degrees. So I back it off a half a turn, get it to where it works with our lock plate. The next would be a washer like this. This is what was on it, and it's seen many applications. You see how it's not flat anymore. So we're going to scrap that. I got 2 new ones. So then we're going to lock this down. It doesn't matter really where you put it. And then we'll put the outside one on, which you can see somebody's used the hammer and chisel method on that. We've ground those flat again, so we can use an actual wrench, or a socket on, I mean. And then we'll run this down, and I'm going to torque this to 250 foot-pounds. After this is torqued, we'll take the edge of this, and we're going to bend it up and lock in so that this can't, the purposes of that nut can't back off. So you can do 1 or 2 or however many you want. I think 1 is sufficient for me, but probably doesn't hurt to do more than 1. I've never liked these. I prefer the bend over tab system, but this is what it's got. So that's what we're going to use.
Yeah, that just seems so wrong to
it just
bend that up. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. So now that's done, and we know it turns freely. So next we'll get this cleaned up and get ready to put the hub in. A lot of guys will fill the inside of the hub before they do this. I don't, because I know this is going to be sitting for a long time and the gear oil will get to the back with no troubles. So I'll get it cleaned up. This is an aftermarket, obviously not a Peterbilt or Meritor or whatever. I don't know who makes this. So this is a different aftermarket hub seal that the guys at AMI use. They've had good luck with it and it's reasonably priced. So we're gonna give it a shot. I put that seal on dry and clean. I don't use any sealer. I don't think it's necessary. We'll get this on here. Now this is only a 5/16 bolt, so you know, if you want to use a torque wrench, 5/16 bolt, I don't know, probably 20 foot-pounds maybe is reasonable. We got the hubs on. We're able to get tires on. If you follow us on Facebook, you know what an ordeal this was, and if you didn't, well, I guess you don't. So we got these on, and I used a stationary object down here to tighten them up progressively until we get them snugged up and pretty true. And then I do that with my 1/2-inch gun. And then once I'm happy with how they're running, snugged up, we'll go get the big 1-inch tire gun with a fresh battery. That's a M18 with a 12 amp hour battery. It's a 1-inch drive, and I'm using these new sockets I got. I've been picking up a good bit of Milwaukee tools lately. I've been seeing the shockwave sockets around, and I gotta tell you, when I saw the construction, I was like, this is a pretty decent looking socket, you know. Now I've been using these, especially I needed an 1.7/16 deep 6-point, which is why I bought it, and these are 3/4 drive here, and I hammered the crap out of the socket with my 3/4 inch impact, and that's all the wear it got. So far so good. This set was on sale when I bought it. It was like 129 bucks, something like that, and it goes from 1 inch all the way up to 1.5 inch. Nice 3/4 inch set to have. And then this is the pack out lug nut set. This is 1-inch drive, and this will do, you know, 1.16". So you're going to do your littler trucks, 1.1/8 here, and then of course I have the 1.25" out for the front steers on this. You got 1.5", which would be the buds on the back of this Peterbilt, your bud inner and outers, and then you have the square drive for your buds. Get 1 inch on one side and then 13/16 on the other. And then you get 1 3/16", and then of course 33mm for our hub pilot wheels. So I did pick up another drill because my Milwaukee drill is not a fuel. It's a brushed version. This is brushless, and I was looking for it, so I got the latest and greatest, which is the 2904-22 kit. And I got some more Milwaukee tools coming. I just haven't got them yet, but I get the gun out, fresh battery. Now we'll get these lug nuts tightened up. Clearance, this tire's touching the ground here. So we'll make sure it stays true down in there. Yeah, we're good. I'm gonna hit it again.
Whoopsie.
Good. Do the other one.
Well, he checked over all the fluids again and everything. We got it off the jack stands, sitting on the ground. We're ready to start it and move it forward so he can do the lights in the back. Finally.
You know what though? When's the last project we had that didn't turn into something?
Yeah.
thing is, this is just an old truck. And it was an old truck that was not in service, used every day. So its condition was fine. But when you needed to do what he needs to do now, it needs work, it needs maintained. But I'll see how good she fires up.
So he's working on a light bar for the back, for the backup light.
I normally would use my chop saw, but it's just one cut, so I'm not going to get too excited about it. I don't want it on that.
Oh, okay.
See that? That's what I got going on.
I'll just hold it up. How about that?
Tank on the back doesn't have any outside lights. What happened originally was we put this tank on, he wanted to turn around the other way. So the lights are right up here. Well, there's no brackets in the rear for any lights, so I have to create something. So we're gonna take this piece of box tube and we're gonna do our 3 center ID lights here, which now I may be moving them in. I'm doing things a little different. We're going to run 3/4 inch LEDs for here. Then we need one on the very corner and then on the side. So we're going to cap that and weld a piece of plate in after we make it. And we'll make some brackets. The tank's aluminum, and I don't know how to weld aluminum, and I don't think a tank is the place to learn. I don't want to create a problem. So we're going to make this to where it bolts to the back of it. I'll show you. So this is the back, and the whole entire tank's aluminum. So this right here is where we're going to attach that. I'm going to bring brackets off of that and down so that that box tubing sits down below the top of the tank. And it's going to extend past the end of the tank out this way. So it'll satisfy DOT needs. It may not be 100% at the top, but it'll be close. And then do the same thing over here. So I'm going to make brackets to go in here and in here to bolt it to. I'm making the end caps, and I'm just using an old piece of angle iron. I want to drill my holes for the lights first because, you know, it's a lot more manageable right now than it is when it's a little bitty piece. I could do it in a drill press, but an annular cutter makes so much nicer of a hole than a drill bit. So we're gonna drill. I got that one drilled. We're gonna flip it over and drill this side, and then we'll just cut it. I'll probably cut this length first to separate the two, and then we'll cut this way. Key to making these blades last on this saw is to get this thing spinning up to speed before you engage in your metal. A lot of guys have said that if you cut rusty metal, they don't last at all. Well, you can see I'm still on my original Evolution blade on this saw, and I have cut a lot of stuff with this saw, including hard truck frame, kingpins, all kinds of good stuff. It helps if you go a little slower when you get to the end of the small pieces so it doesn't throw them, but it's alright. Got my little end pieces made and drilled and trimmed up and all that kind of stuff. And then I laid out the lights for this piece of tubing. It's 102 inches wide, so it's as wide as the truck. So we got one on the corner here facing the rear, and one facing the side. And then these are the three centers. And the ladder sits right in here. So then the same thing over here. We have backup lights on the truck, but they're just little LED single LED lights, two on either side, and it's not bright enough for backing up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add, he wanted to add one of these in the middle, which I think will get blocked by the ladder a lot and give a lot of shadows. So we're going to put two of these 20-inch light bars on our box tubing. So I have it laid out here and here, and I'm trying to stay close to the ladder as I can with my mount, because I don't want it way out there and all that weight on that box tubing kind of bouncing around, because vibration is a killer in trucks. Vibration cracks and breaks things. It's a perfect example right here. Vibration. That's the license plate. So we want to be careful. We want to make sure we got it solid enough that putting this weight out here, because our last support's going to be in this area, and then the rest of this is just kind of hanging out there. So we want to be careful that we're not, you know, putting too much out there and it's going to be a problem later. So to secure this to it, that light bar is going to sit on top of this and then kind of angle down a little bit. I would like to kick this side up a little bit so the light, as you're looking at the back of the truck, would be kicked just a little bit towards the driver's side and kind of light up more of where you're backing up, because it is in so far. If I had it out here as far as it could go and I had a way to support it, it'd be a little bit different. But I don't weld aluminum. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to try it the way it is, see how bright it is. If it's not bright enough, I'll make a bracket. I don't want to make a bracket if I don't have to. So we're going to drill the holes for this. Now, being box tubing, we got to be careful. You go too tight and you're just going to crush this, and then that light will always be loose. You just keep crushing that material and then it becomes weak and it'll break. So we can either drill the hole all the way through and just be careful when we bolt this, or we can drill it all the way through and then drill something bigger on this side and put a sleeve in here so we tighten it up, it doesn't crush the box tubing. I'm not too concerned, it's not very heavy, but that's the next step. We're gonna get those drilled. I want to do all my drilling before I cap the ends out, because I want to be able to get all my drilling metal out of there, because there's gonna be a lot of wire in here. Make me a couple brackets here, got it laid out, so this will allow the box tubing to sit just like that. So it'll move it away from the back of the tank and down a little bit. think that'll be good. It's about a 3-inch drop, about 1.5 inches away. So I better check to make sure I'm not going to hit the ladder. So this will give me weld here and here on the back side too. And being though this is old truck frame, it'll be, you know, fairly stiff. It won't want to do this very much. Now we'll just clean this all up. So I got them all cut out, and I kind of ground this on an angle because there's a weld down there in that corner. These are my bolt holes. Now we're going to go over to the drill press. We'll get these drilled out. And I radiused these edges just a little bit, just so he didn't get stuck on them or get caught. Let's drill them out. Well, I'd like to put these in my pocket, only my pocket seems to be not so pockety.
Oh, on your hoodie? Yeah.
I made my brackets and I got this tack welded in, but I knew this would be in the way to get it out. So I got to take this ladder out. I need to remove the old 3-center ID light too. You see it up there in the middle?
The lights are kind of shining.
These.
Yeah.
Check them out. I don't know if they worked or not. I just didn't want to fool with it. I figured we'd just put new in and be done. This ladder's bent. It's been backed into something. It's pushed in on one side. And there's no handles. You have to get up on top of this thing to load it a lot of times. And there's no grab handles up there either. So when you get up there, it's like, I don't know, whatever. Here, take this. This was a lot easier to put on here. Just take off, but I think it's hit. I think he's backed into something again. It's bent worse than it was. Going to a ladder that ain't hanging on to nothing. All right, you can work on getting this light off.
Okay.
That bracket. That box is back there at the junction.
Okay.
We ain't gonna need it, but that's what we're gonna have. See how I made the brackets come down like that, so that box tube would be down below because tree limbs are constantly breaking the sides and the top of this thing. I figured if I get it down as low as I can, I'd have a little bit more protection. Okay, let me get that down. So I'm starting to wire this light bar up, I guess you'd call it a light bar or whatever. So I'm soldering all my light connections, and people who watch all the time know that I'm a firm believer in solder and deox, this anti-oxidizing compound, and heat shrink. I don't use butt connectors unless it's inside the vehicle. I believe this is a better way than solder joints. Heat shrink connectors that you heat up and they got solder in it. I don't know how well that solder holds up because it can be melted at a much lower temperature. I don't know how good or bad it is or isn't. And I know regular solder will work. And the deox definitely helps because even though this heat shrink has the adhesive in it that seals the wires, anytime you bring more than one wire in an end, it's not sealing up as good as it could. And I've taken apart a lot of connections that have been heat shrink but nothing underneath it, and there's been a problem with the heat shrink, and it's just corroded the joint horribly. So I think this is a good method for me. It's always served me well, and I don't like to go back and redo stuff. So I'll get all this heat shrinked in, and then we'll do the next couple.
So we got these little red lights, and then there's some on the ends, and then the wires all ran through. Now he's gonna put these bigger ones on. I figure those are pretty bright. Did you try them out?
Yeah, they're pretty bright. I think they'll be good. I'm gonna go ahead and wire them or mount them so that I can have everything done except mounting it to the tank. That ain't right. I got a nylon nut. Where'd it go?
I don't know.
It ain't here. Must have been mixed in. I thought I grabbed the nylon. I'm using nylon nuts on this because then the nut will hold no matter how tight it is. It doesn't have to have a bunch of tension. The nylon on the end of the nut stops it from backing off. So I don't have to crush the tube is what I'm saying. We'll adjust it once we get it on the truck. The cord on the back of this doesn't allow for a lot of adjustment, but yeah, I guess it'll work. It'll be alright. I'll snug it up some, just so it's not so loose. Move it around. Okay. Now let's get the other one on. I got all the wiring finished, and I've got I think these are Hobo Freight light boxes, light bars, whatever, I don't know. But I got the supply wires all in loom now, so we're ready to go bolt it up on the back of the truck and see how bad it looks. There's a lot of runs in this. I should not have painted it behind the truck where I couldn't see well, but it is what it is. Since I welded, them brackets got tighter. So I'm gonna have to tap them in. Have to get a ladder to get up there. Oh yeah, that'll do. Down below the tank, but out the edges. Oh yeah. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna try and see if we can get this wire inside the tube of the ladder. Maybe. We'll see if it's possible. If not, I'll zip tie to the back side. Alright, I got all the wiring finished up here. Go ahead and put the parking lights on. There we go. Everything's working. Yep. And the side. Yep. Okay. All that's working. Go ahead and flip the orange switch. Holy crap. Man, that's bright. I can't get over far enough to show that they're the same, but you get the gist of it. They're pretty bright. If I was backing up somewhere, I think I'd be pleased. Okay, turn them off. Yeah, all right. Now, there's no grab handles up here. It's very unsafe. Like, you get up from here to there, so we're gonna add a couple handles up there. He didn't ask, but I think it needs it. Well, it ain't much, but it's better than nothing. Something at least to get a hold of, one on either side, at least to get down into this. I got all the lights out in the shop. Turn that switch on if I can find it in the dark here. See how it lights up the back. Oh yeah, that'll do. Holy crap, that window's filthy. That back there. Yeah, I think that's gonna do. It looks like it's lighting up some to the side. It's hard to tell now because the building's so narrow, but one thing was, this had, let's see if I can get a light. There we go. This used to light up, and now it doesn't. And I wish it did. I checked the ground and the power, obviously, on the switch, but it's apparently just burnt out. It's not working at all, so I'm going to order another switch, because you're going to need to know that light's on. Otherwise, you know, driving down the road blinding people. So, and then here is, you can see the, let me turn that light off the phone. You can see that back light on the marker. So it makes it really easy to see where the tank's at. Yeah, that works out well. Okay, now let's work on the front. I went to Lowe's and got some EMT. This is the best they had to offer. The other pieces that were in the bin were bent worse than this. But hey, don't you worry. I got 10% off of this, so I got a good 50 cents off each one of these because they were bent. All right, let's get it set up, see if we can bend it and put our wire in it for these lights.
Okay, so he got the first piece of EMT bent and up. Put a little piece of heater hose on the end so it doesn't, you know, hit against the tank there. And that's to hold the wires for this corner light right there that's going to go up there. So we have to do the other side, and he has to make a couple brackets, I believe he said. That'll do. Just got to get the little rubber thing on the end now.
Okay.
Got this side in. Everything's strapped down. I got it wired. It comes into a junction box over here, and it turned out okay. I replaced the switch in the dash for the rear backup lights too, but it wasn't working worth a crap. So got that one. Everything's done here. The only thing that stinks about the light that I'm using is it's an LED indicator. So it works good, it's nice and bright, but it takes it a minute to dim out. I don't really care for that. The way to fix that is to wire the load of what's on there, the ground of it, through this ground. But I'm not going to do that. It's just going to have to work the way it is. May not be ideal, but it'll go out. I'll order another one. I didn't realize those were like that, but it works. And we got some really nice backup light back there. Okay, so that's done. Now I gotta move on to something on the battery box. Alright, so he fuels his truck at his house, and he has a tank there, and it's a 12-volt tank. 12-volt pump on the tank. So he needs to be able to access power from the battery and the ground without taking the battery box all the time. And I've got this parts truck here, so I think we're just gonna remove this. This is a plastic insulator here. We're just gonna remove this and then tie it into his, so it'll take care of that problem. Okay, there we go. You can clamp onto that now, and you can clamp on this for ground and fill the tanks up. Okay, so far so good. Runs good. Haven't found any leaks. Dry underneath it. And we might be okay. Coolant pipe is dry. All my lights are working like they're supposed to. I don't see anything. It's like coolant right there from when I resealed that, but it's dry. I don't see anything. We may not got all the leaks, but we got a lot of them, so not too bad. All right, let's keep on driving, get some miles on it. there is no better sight for me than to see my shop empty. I can't tell you what this does for my morale when this thing gets cleaned out and I get to start something new or bring something else in, something different. So that being said, the Peterbilt's done. I'm going to go drop it off here in just a little bit. We've done our test drive and recheck, and I'm considering going ahead and pulling this truck forward and getting this thing out of here and give us some more room. We'll have to talk about this in another video, but hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.